here with the stairs. I need a couple of tools here. We're trimming them out. We were able to, in one of the videos I spoke about how I was waiting for a retainer strip for this here, and it came in and I had no idea how thick it was going to be, how wide here, how thick, or however you want to look at it, what the actual overall dimensions were of it. Normally these come and they're only about 3/4 of an inch deep. They call them a stair nose, and they have holes already in them, and you got to nail them down, which creates like a, I don't know, it's not as clean as this one ended up being without holes in it. So what I had to do was, this piece is already anchored in here, but I'm going to drop down and show you how we got that done. But what I had to do was put a bead of caulking. I used like a silicone base, and I put a bead underneath this, and I clamped it in place from here to here with clamps for a day or so to get it secured, so there's no screws or no nails in it. It's a nice clean look. There's no area to trip here. It's going to be easy to keep this deck clean. And then we fitted this up underneath it. If we drop down here, you can see kind of what I did. Because of the depth and the way I ended up using a piece of the J-channel and wrapping the edge of the step going like this inward. So that's what's up underneath here. There's a piece of J-channel shoved back. And then what I was able to do was, there's a track for the finished molding. Cap this up with this piece here. I came out here as close as I could get to the edge of the flooring, and I drilled holes through the flooring, through the track for the molding, and through the J-channel, and screwed it right into the actual tread, the wooden tread, which sucked this all together, hold it all in. This one's got a little bit of a gap underneath it, you can see, and most of that is the J-channel springing back up. So what I might end up doing, if I can get underneath here and cheat a screw back, I can run a screw back the opposite direction. I can push this J-channel back up and place where it needs to be. I'm going to have to use an offset drill, which I don't have at this time. So I'll work on getting a 90-degree drill so I can come back in here. I'd like it to be all like this one, and unfortunately that end, it's tight, but it's not perfect. That end is off a little bit. I don't care so much at the bottom how it looks, but this is a visual thing when you're walking up, plus it'll get dirt and stuff stuck up underneath it. So I would really like to pull that together, and I think it's doable with a shorter screw coming up from the bottom and pulling this up in place. So we'll get to that. That'll be a finish up thing later on. I went ahead and I put just, these are just some fur strips that you can buy in a bulk of 10. They work out real good for framing stuff like this in, where you don't want to spend a lot of money. You just need a quick fix. These screws, beware. I used a little bit thicker screw than I probably should have, and it's pine and it'll split. But again, it's out of sight, out of mind. As long as it functions for what I need it for, which is a spacer, I'm good with it. I measured the distance from the flooring to the top here, and I've gone ahead and I've cut a piece, and I've capsulated it into 2 pieces of J-channel, as you can see from the back, which works out really sweet, actually, because you can adjust them anywhere you need them. So this goes in like this, tucks up underneath here, and if you get it snug enough when you're trimming it, that also helps push that up, as you can see, and that might be an alternative too, is to just get this pushed up like that before I screw it in, and that will hold it up pretty tight to the molding itself. Or when I'm done, like I said, maybe I'll drill through all of this with a long enough screw to pull all of it up to the board, to the actual deck boards that are underneath here. So see how nice that finishes off? I already did the one below it. I just wanted to show you the next 2 are done. They're just dry fitted. I didn't put them in all the way because we have quite a bit of trim work left to do. See that locks that down? And that's all you have to do to that. That's snapped into that track, and it's good to go. But like I said, over here, I could end up pulling that together with a screw and making it all the gaps go away. On the side here, I'm hoping you can see this in the camera. I've done the first piece, this triangular piece in the corner, and what's nice about that is you can just keep playing around with this until you get it where you want it. tighten it up in the corners, making your gaps minimal. On this side, of course, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be bringing the metal up to this edge right here with J-channel. So the metal will be coming across here at this level, something similar to that, and finishing off this whole wall going back this way underneath the elevator. So I've added a couple of filler blocks in here to bridge the J-channel and the siding off of. And just to give you an idea what I'm playing around with, I notched this piece here, and I'm not sure I like how it's ending up, because it's still got a gap here. Not bad. But when I get out here and I snap that in, I've got this bull nose on the molding that makes it kind of difficult to even figure out what I'm going to do here. If I do this, then I've got a big gap in here that I'm not going to be able to do anything with. I drop down here and put it here and then run it the rest of the way up. That could possibly work. It's a lot of trim work. It might be faster just to come back in here and cut the ends of these, notch the ends of these moldings and the ends of all this metal, just notch it back, cut it back, so that this channel will drop right in all the way and come up underneath this one. This here, I'll probably make a little piece to go on the end here to finish this off. Here's a piece here. Got a screw in it, but I can take that screw back out. To give you an idea of how I trimmed out one of these completely. When that comes down, we're going to probably have to be a little short. Mark them a little full. You might have to cut them more than once. It's better than cutting them too short and then we'll start over. I think I talked about this, how you can, if you cut both sides, cut through that hem, and cut to the corner like that, you can just take the rest of it and bend it. And if your cut here and your cut here are lined up, you'll get it pretty darn straight. This is probably some of the most... When you're running out straight walls, you don't run into any of this. I mean, you're just running track. I think it might be better to go inside, underneath it. Kind of finishes that off. We can suck that back a little and get a screw in it. Don't be afraid to bend this stuff around when you get it where you want it. It's off a little bit, like that. Itself inside the metal. I'm almost thinking a rivet to make that happen. Corner here. We'll come back later. I'll drill a small hole right there. And we'll pull that together with a rivet. It's just, it is what it is. The biggest problem, like I said before, was the hem. The hem on this J-channel is where we're running into this cornering issue where it just doesn't lay flat. You got too many thicknesses of metal there. Anyway, that shows you how we did this one. We'll repeat the same thing here, the same thing there, then that'll finalize that. The bottom is already set up. I haven't tied it in yet. It's set up to go to get itself tied in, but I don't want to anchor any of these because I'm still toying with the idea of how I'm going to notch this in to make this work. So I can go ahead and finish those two up. I don't want to bore you to death. All I did is measured my height at the back, my height at the front, connected the two lines with a straight edge, cut them, fit them in there. Same thing with these. Just figured out the length. Once you have your piece of metal, if the metal fits the opening, then it's pretty easy just to trim some J-channel to match it. And like we did here, and just slide it in. And that's it for now. We'll come back, and I appreciate you watching the channel, and stay tuned for more, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. We're going to move on to the cables for the railings. I've gone ahead and made up these here. You can see they have stainless steel ends on them. These are something you can buy on online, eBay. They come in packs of, 7 or 8 each. This one's marked left. It's a left-hand thread. This one's marked right for a right-hand thread. Reason being, is if they're both going the same direction, as you wind the cable, it will start to knock the cable up like this. So because we go one direction with this one and one direction with that one, at the end you end up with a taut cable without having to have any type of a swivel built in. Now these cables are coded. Not everybody's going to be able to find stuff like this. This was some stuff we bought out of a closure of a store, and they used them to hang signs. And at the time I didn't really have any use for them, but I always knew in my mind I wanted to do something with cable with railings. So here we are. We got the opportunity to do it. This got cut, and then the coating on it got trimmed back. And it doesn't matter if it's how far this goes up in there, because it will crimp itself. I just wanted you to see how these went together. They can be a little tricky getting them started. Once they're started into the cable, they usually go pretty easy. You'll get a flare-up sometimes where one cable or two strands of the cable will try to escape the putting it in there. It can happen. It happened on this one. Put this around. I wasted a bunch of time on this. So some of them have been a little bit temperamental. But what can happen is you got the cable sticking out to the side. I just take my trim. So it's 28 ends I have to put on. Now it's slid right up to where my cable's been trimmed. This is a hydraulic tool I picked up on eBay. It comes with different dies. There's an on-off. It's hydraulic. It has different dies. So I just picked the die that matched the diameter of the tubing, which I believe was 3/16. So you can crimp this anywhere along this space. It doesn't have to be in the middle. I kind of crimp them down towards the end here. So once you get it there, then you can just grab it and start squeezing it. And you'll know when you're all the way because it'll close the die completely and this will stop pumping. Probably won't have sore hands the next day. This is a lot of crimping. It'll get a lot harder as it gets closer to closing the die. It'll actually stop when you get that die closed. It'll stop. You just release it a little bit, pull it out, and then you're ready for the other end. These on one side, these on the other. The reason I did that is so I don't put two lefts on the same cable or two rights on the same cable, because you're not going to install. You're going to end up ruining the cable and your ends and having to start over. All I did there was kind of put a little taper on the end of the cables just to get them started in there. Probably want to turn these clockwise because that's how this thing's cable is wound. Much better success with that one. And not all of them are going to seat all the way. It's just how I trimmed them. To me, it doesn't matter. Silver, it all blends. So we'll go ahead and crimp this end and release this all the way, because then you just got to sit there and pump it a million times just to get it. Wow, that was pretty quick. So that's that. These are all the longer ones for the, as I turn around, I'll show you. The shorter ones I already have made up are over there. I've installed one of each just so you can get an idea. Actually, two of the long ones and one of the short ones. And I'll install one during the video so you can just see how it's done. Another thing we did today, we had a solid door going into the mudroom. I happened to get a good deal on this door. It's full glass, so we'll have dark gray, blue, and dark gray and glass. And I think that's going to contrast the metal and the black and everything we've got going so far. You can see here that I've gone ahead and mounted the cables, two of them, and they're pretty cool when they tighten up. I mean, you're not going to fall through there. This one could use a little bit more. And it doesn't matter how you start. You'll know if you've got a left or a right hand thread. So the tool that they give you obviously didn't last very long. It's stripped. So I'm using a pair of vice grips to turn these. So this is a left hand. Rule of thumb was lefty loosey, righty tighty. Well, it doesn't apply here. This is, you can see here where I'm at. So what I did with these holes, let me back up a little bit here and show you. I came up with what appeared to be a good balance. The bottom one, obviously the spacing is a little bit tighter. Trying to work out the distance between them was almost insanity. So I went with a 4-inch and I used a block and I just marked them evenly all the way down end to end so they would all line up in the same space. Over here, I did the same thing, but these cables have to be put in on an angle, obviously to follow this. So we end up with the same look. So we come off of here, and we go to here, and we come down. So what happens, you'll see as I turn this one in a couple turns, and I'll come down here and turn this one a couple turns. When I notice as I crank them in, some of them are kind of a little up, a little down. It's okay. If your hole isn't perfectly level, and you get them in there and they don't line up, you can take a pair of pliers and just give these a little bend. I believe they're made out of stainless, but they do move, and you can straighten them. If you get to the end and your cable looks like it's doing a weird thing here at the end, you can just grab these and bend them. Something I just figured out myself today. First time installing anything like this. Start looking at things and saying, well, wow, this all looks nice and clean, but I don't like the way that looks, or I don't like the way that freezer looks. So there it is. I think it's going to look really clean by the time we get this board set up here. Nice stain on this. Kind of just a nice little contrast. The black, the silver, the blue, the stainless, the galvanized, and the stained wood. So stay tuned for more. Thanks for joining us today in this video. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification for the next video that we're going to shoot. There'll be many more segments finishing up this garage. I feel like we're about maybe 1/4 of the way, maybe 30% of the way. I think it's going to be pretty cool by the time it's done. Quite a difference from our first showroom we built. We didn't have the height, we didn't have this big of a space to work in, and we did what we could with it. It came out unique, and everybody loved it, but I think I'm going to like this one just a little bit more. Okay, stay tuned. We'll be back.